What happens when you build an infinite water source, surround it in flowers, and then throw a diamond inside of it?
Oh, I missed. Hold on. Sorry.
You get a portal into my favorite dimension, the Twilight Forest. The Twilight Forest is a mod created by Benematic, and it's over 10 years old at this point. If you haven't guessed by now, this mod adds a dimension into Minecraft that's intended to be reached once you obtain diamonds in survival. I'll chuck a link to the wiki and the Discord in the description to help you out. If you're keen to jump straight into this mod, it works on the latest version at the time, which is 1.19.2. Just keep in mind this mod does not work very well with Optifine. Let's jump straight into it and let's have a look.
Hello, how are you? I am under the water. Please help me.
Once you've got your gear together and you jump into your portal, you'll more than likely find yourself in the Twilight Forest biome. Straight away, you'll get a magical and mysterious vibe that you'll feel throughout the entire dimension. The mod even comes with its own musical ambience. One of the first things you might notice when you hop into this dimension is that it's always in a state of twilight. Now, the wiki says that hostile mobs shouldn't be spawning on the surface, but when I played this, I did spot one or two bad boys on that surface trying to kill me and eat me. For the most part though, this place is very safe. Most of the mobs are deer and squirrels, and they'll try to run away from you. Look at this dude. The underground section of the Twilight Forest being only around 30 or 40 blocks deep, mining is as easy as it gets. Just look out for the hostile mobs that do spawn underground and try to collect as much live root and torch berries as you can while you're down there. The very first thing you have to do when you get into this dimension, you have to listen to me. You have to listen to make a magic map. Just trust me. Okay? It will hold your hand. It'll show you the path. The magic map doesn't just display way more space than the vanilla map, but it also displays icons of places of interest as you get near them. Nope. These are locations like hedge mazes which are dotted throughout the landscape. Ow, that doesn't work. The loot in these chests are quite similar to dungeons, but sometimes you might find an item exclusive to the mod. Something else to keep an eye out for though are hills that are hollow. Hollow hills. If you find one of these on your map and excavate it, and you jump on inside and hopefully don't break your legs like I did, there's lots of loot to be found inside. If you're lucky enough to find the very rare enchanted forest biome, definitely look for a quest grove. Inside you'll find the bestest boy, the quest ram. If you give him one of each color of wool, he'll give you a nice reward. I won't tell you what it is though, because I hate you. It's not just locations of interest though. You can see on the map that different biomes are different colors. You can see here this lime colored biome is actually a firefly for it. Firefly.
Forest.
Now those locations that I just showed you, the hedge maze, the hollow hill, and the quest grove, you don't really need to do anything to get there. You can just go on and walk in. But the most of the features that the Twilight Forest has to offer follow a progression system. For this reason, most key locations are actually locked behind some sort of barrier or even just an effect, at least until you defeat a certain boss. You can get a pretty good idea of what you're meant to do just by looking at the achievements.
Do a little trolley.
The first boss you'll have to find is the Naga, and he's found in the courtyard. The big, you know what fuck, this guy breaks the hedges and stuff that he runs into, and he makes some charge attacks every now and then. If you bring a shield though, and he runs into you during these charge attacks, you'll stun him for a bit, which is very handy. You'll notice over time, as his health bar lowers, he'll be losing segments, but he will be moving quicker. Next, you have to go into a big tower and kill Skeleton Man from the Axis of Awesome. The Twilight Lich is at the top of the tower, and it's got 3 phases you need to get through to fight it. The first one is this one, where you need to knock back projectiles at each clone. After that, the shields will go down, but they'll start spawning some zombies, so you gotta avoid those and get your sword in there. In the last stage of the fight, he'll whip out his own sword, and he'll challenge you on one-on-one combat. Like all of the bosses in this mod, keep a lookout for a chest. Every boss drops a chest. A little side note, once you kill the Lich, the barrier's clear for these 3 biomes, which you need to progress further into the mod. So let's take a look at those. Next up, we'll take a look at the swamp. The Twilight Forest swamp is a thing of complex beauty. The dark green looming sky above everything. The way the trees carelessly rest among the murky turquoise water below them, which smells. Your first task in the swamp is to locate a labyrinth. Once you find said labyrinth, you must go inside and prepare to fight many enemies. Inside the labyrinth, you may find minotaurs, or other enemies such as maze slimes, but your main goal is to find and slay the Minishroom mini-boss. Hey, are you good? Why isn't... Upon his defeat, he will drop beef stroganoff.
Get it? Because it's like beef, but it's mushroom. So it's meat.
After the consumption of the beef stroganoff, you are then capable of going into the fire swamp, where you must fight the Hydra. The Hydra does a lot of damage, so make sure to keep your distance only when you have to, and to dodge. Keep in mind that you have to stay very close to the Hydra to do any damage to it. The Hydra drops fiery blood, which can be used to craft tools and armor, and even weapons. The fiery armor is kinda like thorns, but instead of hurting them, it just sets them on fire instead. When you combine fiery blood with iron ingots, you can then make tools and armor with them. Warm cheese over here does 11 attack damage with sharpness 5. That's even better than what a diamond sword can do. The Dark Forest opens up once you defeat the Twilight Lich, so you can go in here instead of the swamp first if you'd like to. If there was one recommendation I would give, it would be definitely to bring a shield. As you can see, I didn't bring a shield, but I had no troubles in this area because I'm just so good at this game.
What the f-
If you look hard enough, you'll then find another labyrinth. I love labyrinth. You have to place a boss trophy on top of this pedestal, and then the floor will open up and you can jump on inside. In here, you'll find a lot of goblins. This is because it's called the Goblin Knight Dungeon. I mean Stronghold. That was close. You may also run into Goblin Knights. Crazy, right? Once you knock off their armor, they'll still keep trying to attack you as these little dudes. Again, your main goal within this area is to try to find the mini-boss that resides within it. In this case, you'll find yourself fighting the Night Phantoms. These guys have a very cool sound design, might I add. Different phantoms move in different ways depending on what weapon they're holding. For example, phantoms with swords will move straight towards the player, and will do a lot of damage if you're unlucky enough to be hit by one. Once you beat the phantoms, they'll also drop a chest, and it has some pretty good stuff inside of it. The knightly sword, for example, does similar damage to the diamond sword, but it does more damage to targets with armor. Once you defeated the phantoms, you can then have access to the big fuck-off tower in the middle of the Dark Forest. Now don't get me wrong, this place is as intricate as it is big. It is massive and it's all over the place. The Dark Tower has heaps of different features inside of it. I think this is the smelting room right here. But don't get too distracted looking around, focus on your goal, and that's to get to the top of the tower. And once you get to the top, you'll find the Urghast, which is very loud. Turn your volume down. There'll be these things which are ghast traps, and what you need to do is you need to kill these little ghasts around it if it's beeping. And you need to charge it up. And then when it starts going beep 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 beep, then you step on it when the big ghast is nearby, and then it zaps it, and it comes in. Once you kill this guy, he'll drop fiery tears, which is the exact same thing as fiery blood, and he'll also drop Carmonite, which can be used to make very interesting blocks. The Snowy Forest. Wait, is it the Snow Forest or the Snow? Oh. Well, shit. The Snowy Forest. It's called the Snowy Forest. I made a mistake with the title. I'm very sorry. The Snowy Forest has winter wolves, which are pretty easy to kill, but they do quite a bit of damage. My favorite part about this entire biome is that the Yetis don't attack you. They just throw you when you get too close. Do it again. Do it again. Now, the first thing you have to find in this biome is the Yeti lair. It looks kind of like this. In fact, it looks exactly like this because this is a Yeti lair. If you get closer to the middle, it'll spawn the Alpha Yeti, and you need to kill the Alpha Yeti before you can advance to the next section. There's really no special way about going against this guy. Just, if you can get close enough, use a sword. If you're far away, use a bow. So once you've slaughtered the Alpha Yeti in front of his entire family, you can then use his remains to craft armor. The Yeti armor is fairly similar to the fiery armor, except when they hit you, instead of being set on fire, they get frosted because you're so damn dripped out with your new armor. Next, you have to climb to the top of the glacier and find the Aurora Palace. If you can't see it, I don't know how you're playing this game. How did you get this far? I discovered myself that there's actually multiple ways to get to the Aurora Palace. This is my method of choice. Probably do the normal way. Penguins spawn up on the glacier. You can go say hi to some penguins before you go fuck some shit up in the palace. Now, it'll take you a bit of effort to get up to near the top of the palace to verse the Snow Queen, but at least the inside has a very unique design and color palette to it. Inside, you'll find a few chests that actually have a lot of ice-themed items. I found an ice bow myself, and that freezes my enemies when I shoot them. Speaking of enemies, you run into stable ice cores in here. You'll also find snow guardians and unstable frost cores, which actually explode and change blocks around them when they die. Once you're near the top and you start running into ice-covered rooms, you know you're about to fight the Snow Queen, so prepare yourself. The Snow Queen will use her ice blocks as a shield, so if you're going to try to bow her or hit her, make sure you don't hit the ice blocks and her instead. She has a few variations of attacks, such as summoning ice crystals, and I think if this worked, it was supposed to be her downward slam. Anyway, I capitalized on the Snow Queen's blunder and beat the absolute crap out of her. Now, defeating the Snow Queen will drop you either one of two bows, the tri-bow or the other bow, which I forgot the name of, and I'll check right now. So once you've defeated the 3 main bosses, it's time to head over to the final biome, the Highlands biome. The first thing you'll notice once you get here is the giant palace in the middle of the biome. The final castle has more fuck off energy than even the Dark Tower itself. First, you want to find some cave entrances and go underground, because there is where they have magic beans. You might encounter a few trolls down here, but there's nothing you can't handle by now, I hope. The magic beans are hidden away inside of obsidian boxes. The small obsidian boxes. Inside, you'll find SPC, baked beans, rich tomato and Vegemite. You'll also find some chocolate soil to plant them in. You need to grow a giant vine to get up to the floating island, so plant your beans in the ground and they'll do your job. It'll grow in a nice swirly pattern, so you can just climb up there with your legs. And once you reach the top, you'll find you, but bigger. These are giants, and you have to kill them, because you want their pickaxe, so you can get into the big obsidian box. Back in the troll caves. Using any kind of ranged weapon is very recommended. Using a sword is... why? They're giant. The giant's pickaxe mines in a 4 squared pattern, which is very handy. What is even more useful though, is that you can use it to get into the giant obsidian box, which you need to get a very handy tool inside. The Lamp of Cinders is that tool. Finally, you can use the lamp of cinders on the thorns and turn them to ash, allowing you to access the final castle. Make sure you're practicing fire safety so that there are no more wildfires. And then, no, seriously. Download it. It's in the description. It's a good mod. It's a really good mod.